So based on your experience, what are a couple of strategies that an experienced triple net investor would take? You kind of hinted earlier about how maybe going after very high credit, but maybe what would be considered a bad location might get you a better cap rate, and your downside is really limited by the fact that, it's based on the credit of this firm, as long as it's not by a local franchisee. That sounds like one strategy an investor could keep in mind. Is there another strategy or two related to this area that could be helpful to investors listening?
Yeah, and I guess I would put the first thing out there that's kind of a mindset that I think a lot of it that I see investors go through is a lot of investors show up initially and they think all their money has to be treated the same, which means I've got to maximize every single dollar I have. And if you step back a little bit and, not to get philosophical, but if you think about what's the value of money or what purpose does money serve in your life, a lot of times it's to give you freedom. It's to give you some type of security. And if you start the conversation there, not every dollar in your portfolio has to be treated the same way. So I think it's completely appropriate to look at some dollars and say, okay, this money should be treated to give me security or, cover certain things. And so that may impact how you approach what's available in the net lease market. Another strategy that we'll see that can be a little more entrepreneurial is, as I said before, a lot of these investments come out of the gate with 20-year leases. When you begin to cross the threshold where there's 10 years remaining on the lease, and knowing most banks will give you 10-year mortgages, when you have fewer than 10 years left on the lease, that would be the time period when the value would be impaired in theory, meaning that even though that tenant could be doing gangbusters business and it could have great credit, you are introducing the lease expiration into that conversation that may have 7 years left or 3 years left. And so that's uncertainty. And so whoever's buying that property from you will want to be paid for that type of uncertainty. And the bank will want to make sure that they're protected from that uncertainty. So the loan dollars may be lower, the buyer pool may be smaller. On the other hand, if you want to be more entrepreneurial, that's where some buyers will look at those properties where the lease expirations, where you have fewer years left on the lease, because that may be an opportunity to pick up something at a better cap rate if you're willing to do the market research, or you're comfortable with the risk that you could either the tenant's going to renew, or you could re-tenant it, or some other option. So that's one of the areas where the business can become more entrepreneurial.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. This content was created by commercialrealestate.com. Access our community, investment databases, training, and live events by visiting www.commercialrealestate.com.